Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Thoughts on the Mark Ingram trade, bringing the former first-round pick back to New Orleans?
I texted another reporter probably about 10 days ago, why haven't the Saints traded for Mark Ingram yet? It makes just perfect sense for both sides. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a more obvious trade in sports history. I just can't believe it took this long. Houston's been a fire sale all season long, and the Saints needed a veteran, reliable running back. I mean, look, in retrospect, they probably would have kept Latavius Murray. They didn't know Tony Jones Jr. was going to get hurt. And that position, you know, you can't blame them for not knowing how hard that position was going to be to fill, because they throughout the entire Peyton era, they've had 4 or 5 running backs. That's a position where they keep cutting guys that they don't have room for who go on to play for other NFL teams. This is the first time I can ever remember where they had to go out there looking and just could not find a fit at that position. So they went to a guy who they know is going to fit really well. Mark Ingram's still playing pretty well. Obviously, you're not expecting him to be a game changer, but you need somebody who can touch the ball 10 times just to keep Alvin Kamara from breaking down this season. 30 touches the other night. That's crazy. I mean, and they are hard hitting touches too. He's getting hit every time he runs the ball right in the middle of traffic.
So what realistic expectations should we have for Ingram, considering Tampa Bay is the best rush defense in the NFL, and he's really a between-the-tackles guy?
Lower your expectations this week. Exactly. Yeah. Don't make your judgment. Don't watch this week's game and think, oh no, Mark Ingram's washed. Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay doesn't have the best run defense in the league, then the Saints do. They're 1-2 though, and they have been for going on 5 years now.
What if I think Mark Ingram is washed anyway?
No, that's possible. You just are not allowed to make that opinion until after you see him against Atlanta.
No, I mean, I've already made that opinion. I think he's washed up. I don't think this is a good move at all, because I don't think he's got anything left.
But they need a competent player at that position. I mean, look, Tony Jones Jr. could bring the element of explosion, and that was important to this team, and they still need that. They need playmakers up and down this offense. But the main thing they needed is someone they trust out on that field, who knows what they're doing, where they're going, who knows how to pass protect, because they cannot keep playing Alvin Kamara as many snaps and touches as he's had so far this season. They needed to find a number 2 that they trust. So it would be a luxury if that player was also like an explosive, dynamic playmaker. But get in line if you think number 2 running back is where they need in playmaking, because I'll take number 1 receiver, number 2 receiver, number 3 receiver, number 1 tight end, all ahead of number 2 running back.
Okay, so we saw the injury report. Taysom Hill still not practicing. I mean, Mike is. I'm asking you to speculate unless if there's something you can offer. But when you see that on a Thursday that he's not on the field and it's been 2.5 weeks, it almost feels like he's going to be on the shelf again for another week.
Yeah, I don't expect him to play this week for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't expect him to miss that much time and then practice for one day and come play. But yeah, I have not heard any details on the severity of his concussion that would make me think that he's not week to week. And the fact that they didn't place him on injured reserve, which would have just shelved him for 3 weeks, lets you know that they didn't have some initial diagnosis that, this is going to be an 8-week, but concussions are impossible to predict and obviously smart to take your time with them. So I will just assume he is week to week, but I do not expect him to play this week.
So Taysom Hill, unlikely to play. Deonte Harris was limited. Number 2 part, do you expect Deonte to be back this week? And if so, what might he add to this offense, which really was lacking on Monday night?
Yeah, in part, I will throw Monday night out the window a little bit because of the weather conditions, but that we did see some of the same things Monday night that we've seen all season, which is a combination of either the receivers and the tight ends are not painting a picture for Winston that he likes to see, or that's just not a throw he likes to make over the middle of the field. But the lack of sort of slants and intermediate routes in this offense are pretty surprising. We know the deep ball is there, and when he missed on some of those deep balls, definitely some drops. There was a drop by Kenny Stills and a drop by Kevin White, if I recall. Tre'Quan Smith not taking the extra steps when Winston thought he was throwing to. So a lot of that stuff was missing. But we know there is a deep ball element to this offense because we've seen it hit in just about every other game, and obviously Deonte Harris brings that. There were a couple games, too, where Deonte Harris was their go-to guy on like 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12. And I think we were starting to see a real comfort level between him and Jameis that we haven't seen with the other receivers. So I think that helps a lot, to be honest. Not a miracle worker, but maybe a couple more catches that rhythm than we've seen with some of the other receivers out there.
He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett. One more on the offense. Do you suspect they'll make a trade before Tuesday's trade deadline for a pass catcher?
Not necessarily. I definitely think it's possible, but I think the only way you really solve that issue is by getting someone really good. Like, the Patriots are offering N'Keal Harry. I don't see N'Keal Harry coming in here and solving all the problems. I mean, they've got a lot of guys who are the 75th best receiver in the NFL. I don't think they can acquire. I don't think they can acquire a top 30 guy. I don't know who's out there. I don't know what that would cost. Maybe though, Willie Snead got released. I think that caliber of player has been missing from this offense. Sort of the Lance Moore, Willie Snead. Wouldn't it be nice to have Emmanuel Sanders back? Some guy who can work the middle of the field, sit in soft zones. Jameis used to like throwing to Adam Humphries. Like, maybe there is a guy like that. Chris Hogan announces his retirement. Maybe another guy who fills that role, but I don't think that the guy who solves this is coming through the door.
I know you weren't being funny by saying they've got a lot of guys with the 75th best receiver, but it's unintentionally funny because that is where they are.
It's true. It really is true. I mean, look, I think Marquez Callaway belongs on an NFL offense, and he's still learning, but he obviously has that incredible big play ability, the contested catch ability. So maybe I'm selling him short. I think everybody would want a Deonte Harris on their offense because of what he can do, and he's showing growth as more than just a deep threat. I think Tre'Quan Smith, I think he's proven he belongs in this league, but obviously has a lot of rust to shake off. But, all those guys are maybe number 3 receivers at best, and it's a collection of those. So I don't know that my point, how you can go out and acquire a number 1 or a number 2.
So one guy we do know is walking through the door is David Onyemata. He's reinstated. He'll play. How big of a deal is this for a Saints defense, which is already really good?
He's a number 1.
Yes, he is.
What's amazing about the guys they've been missing, I think I said this before, I used to always rank the Saints roster, and I haven't done that in the last couple of years, but just sketching it out in my head, I think David Onyemata and Eric McCoy are 2 guys that would have been in my top 10. That not a lot of people maybe credit them as such. Those are 2 guys who haven't made Pro Bowls yet and haven't made, ESPN, NFL Network top 100 players in the league. But I think they're right on the cusp. And so, they were missing guys we know that are top 100 players like Michael Thomas and Teron Armstead. But I think Onyemata and Eric McCoy, who just came back last week, are 2 of the 10 best players on this team. And shoot, Onyemata might be 8th. He's just been a really, really good player for them during these 5 years where they've had the best run defense in the NFL. And he's been pretty good as a pass rusher at times, but I think he also helps get that push that gets some of those sacks over to Cam Jordan and Trey Hendrickson last year that have been lacking this year.
Do they have an opportunity realistically here to, if not stop, slow that Tampa Bay offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really good defense. And they always seem to match up well against Tampa. I think Marshawn Lattimore's greatest hits tape is full of plays against Mike Evans, and I think C.J. Johnson's greatest hits tape is full of the work he's done covering Chris Godwin out of the slot. And they stopped their run game. They picked off Tom Brady a couple of times. Was it 2 picks in each game last year? It was 2 picks in the first game, 1 in the second, but obviously they won it 38-3. There is in some form or fashion, they match up well against this team. Now, Antonio Brown is now a big part of Tampa Bay's offense, and he makes them more difficult to defend, but it doesn't look like they're going to have to play him. Well, they definitely aren't going to have to play him this week. Maybe they'll play him in the second meeting. Leonard Fournette looks like he's really found his groove, so that's an element that maybe they didn't have in the first 2 meetings last year that hurt them a little more in the playoff meeting. But I don't think it's impossible to think that the Saints defense can play well. But this is one of the deepest and most diverse offenses in the NFL. It's a test, no doubt about it.
Mike, before you go, look, they're 4-2, and as you've noted, they were 8 minutes away with an 11-point lead from being 5-1. Despite the fact that they've sort of bubble gum and duct taped this thing together here through the first 6 games, how important is Sunday?
You know what? I will still think they're a playoff team even if they lose this game, but winning the NFC South becomes a more far-fetched idea if Tampa Bay's 7-1 with a win in New Orleans while the Saints are 4-3. But look, I picked Tampa Bay to win this game, and I still think the Saints are going to be a playoff team this year. So in that sense, I don't think it's vital. And look, Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl as the 5 seed last year because it took them a while to get everything together, and they peaked at the right time. I think the Saints can be a peak at the right time team. So I don't think it's make or break, but I think it would be very hard to win this division if you fall this far behind and lose the home game in the series.
He is Mike Triplett, ESPN.com. Saints and Bucks, Sunday, 3:25 in the Dome. We always appreciate it, man. Thanks for a couple of minutes.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.